Welcome to the Aussie Game podcast, where we talk all things Australian football. The A-League men's race is going down to the wire as the top six starts to take shape and the Jets wrap up the ACL elite spot. The championship showcases drama at both ends of the table involving our Aussies. Hearts head into the last stretch in Scotland on top. A big Socceroo is back. Aussie goals in the MLS. The Matildas waltz past Malawi. And we'll finish with our team of the week. Now, I'm going to introduce Mopper, who I've only just started talking to again after his Liverpool took down my Fulham overnight. How are you, mate?
It's good to be. Look, it's 1-1. 1-1. You won the first, we won the second. So we'll call it even, and we'll just see what happens as the football journey continues. Yes, we're also hanging on the edge of our seats, as we always are at the moment, because there's so much football on. And the Matildas under 20 quarterfinals is underway. We're currently 1-0 down after conceding an early goal in the 25th minute. It's at now, so we'll keep you live posted on that one. And we've also got a crucial A-League game live at the moment, 23 minutes in, and it's Perth and Macarthur at 0-0. Macarthur needing to win to keep their season alive, as Melbourne City, we'll see later in the week, is storming home in a very impressive run that they've got going on. So plenty of live action, plenty to talk about. And yes, it was a weekend of injury returns, wasn't it? Some big players back for the Aussies and all pressing their claims to be on that plane.
So good too domestically. A lot of the junior football kicked off this weekend as well. So good to see so many youngsters out there either recommencing or commencing their footballing journey, and saw so many pictures across social media across the weekend from friends and family. So yeah, awesome to see so many young boys and girls getting involved in football. Very pleasing to see. Let's start with the Matildas, mate. Mentioned in the intro, they waltzed past Malawi with a 5-0 win. Goals to Emily Van Egmond, Alex Chidiac, Sam Kerr, who all were in the starting lineup. And then a couple of substitutes rounded out the scoring in Holly McNamara and debutante Letitia McKenna. So pretty straightforward this win, mate. Nowhere near our strongest lineup, but good to see some fringe players and some up-and-coming players get their opportunity.
Yeah, well, it's that time of the year, isn't it? Build some depth. Obviously, we've just finished the Asia Cup runs up, and looking to obviously bench press the second 11. Although there was a few first team starters in the Matildas lineup, but they need this game time, don't they? And it's good to see Rankin and all them that Charlie Rule and all that next gen play and get some great game time. And we play Kenya next, isn't it? On the 16th, later on this week. So that was good. And it's just good to get some different combinations out there and with some of the stronger players as well. Because it always helps when there's the elite like starting 11, a couple of them starting. It just gives the girls a bit more confidence to develop a bit quicker. So we had Arnold in goals, Nevin Studd on the left, Torpy on the right, Rule and Heatley in the middle. So that's good. Good young combination centre-back pairing there. I think that's fantastic to see. We've seen the experienced Wheeler in the middle, and Chidiac didn't see her much in the Asia Cup, get some game time, and she's had a stellar season in Serie A. And then we've seen the experience of Van Egmont, Russo forward, and Kerr, the front line, really holding it together. So, but it was good to see some flexibility. We've seen Remy Simonson, Kennedy, obviously a superstar of the Asia Cup. Amy Sayer got some time off the bench, McNamara, Rankin, as I said, and a great goal for McKenna, her debut for the Matildas, and what a way to cap it off. Biggest smile on her face, isn't it, McKenna? This is what the stories of the Matildas are all about. So good to see a nice little mix of balance there for the Matildas to kick off their friendlies.
Yeah, I think it's really important to have that balance as well, because we've seen in the past where we've put young teams out there and they haven't been able to gel, and I think that's the way to do it. A good mix of experience and some youth in there as well to be able to blend those two different parts of the Matilda's career for those players. And yeah, great to see Chidiac get her start. As you said, she didn't get any game time in the Asian Cup, but has been performing very well for Como throughout the year. And that backline, we've seen a pretty stable backline over the past kind of 5 years. Like even before Claire Hunt came in, Claire Polkinghorn was a bit of a stalwart there next to Kennedy, and now we're seeing Kennedy kind of shift into the midfield. So it's certainly something that we need to kind of keep evolving in that backline as well. So I would expect potentially we are going to see some more changes for the second game as well. And I just think it's a good opportunity. There's not a lot on the line. That I know they kind of glamorize this as the FIFA series, but it's a friendly at the end of the day. So this is their chance to keep building on what Joe is trying to do, but it's definitely the chance to blood some of the youngsters. And as you said, what a finish from Letitia McKenna. She got put into the space, and she probably could have squared the ball, being a bit unselfish, but took it upon herself to fire that ball home into the bottom corner. Emily Van Egmont opened the scoring. Some quick thinking there from the free kick. So quick that the producer didn't even catch it on the camera. So that was very funny to see. Sam Kerr, opportunistic as ever in the box. She did miss one just earlier then that she would have been disappointed that she didn't finish. And then, Chits from the outside of the box. Keeper kind of spilled it in, but plenty of power behind that one. And, Holly McNamara had a bit of a tap in. So, pretty straightforward, this win over Malawi, which we expected. But, what do you think we might see for the next game in this series?
Probably one of the other keepers. Nice to see Aquino probably maybe get a go. Chloe Lincoln obviously did that well in those first couple of games for the Matildas in the Asia Cup. Yeah, look, great to see Nash and Gomez are the only really ones that didn't get a run. Hopefully see some game time from them. Yeah, I'm sure he'll mix it up again. Probably more of the front line you'll see rested, I reckon, this time. And you'll probably see Sayer start and Kennedy come in. And McNamara, hopefully she gets a run too in the start lineup. I think that back line can be held together. Obviously, this is the next gen, isn't it? Or not what they're extremely young, but they're definitely the next emerging Matildas, aren't they, in that bracket, aren't they? Most of them between 22 to 25. So that this is what we're probably building towards for the next 5 years. But yeah, I don't think there'll be too much change apart from the front. I think you'll mix it up. And I think the bigger players will obviously want to probably be rested going back to Europe. They've got some big Champions League games, big cup games coming up. So, but I always say that and then they reverse it. So we'll see how we go.
As I said, that second game midweek this week. So we'll report on that after that has happened. Let's head over to the championship, mate. As I said in the intro, a bit of interest at both ends of the table. Do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, mate. We got Norwich. Well, they were at home to Ipswich, so real stellar test for Norwich. They've been in good form. And Mo Turo was on the bench, and they fell 2-0 down early in this one. And they went in at half time, and Mo was introduced straight after the break. So I thought it was a really good test for him because against really prestigious challenges, serious challenges for promotion, Ipswich has definitely got the upper hand in that second place challenge, and they did find it tough in the second half as well. But they go down 2-0. It was a respectable score, but it's really good to see Mo Toure tested against the top and upper echelon of the championship. Soon probably to be a Premier League team back in the Premier League, Ipswich. So I think that's really good for him. Still not starting yet. Obviously, he's just building his fitness up. So 2-0 loss to Norwich. Look, they were out of pretty much the playoffs anyway, but they're top half of the table, and that's probably where they'll finish. But he'll be ready, primed, I think, for a good World Cup with some good games on. We also seen QPR. They hosted Bristol City. Keely Adamson and Daniel Benny on the bench. As usual, probably, that's pretty standard these days. Benny was introduced in the 69th minute. It was at 0-0, and that's how it finished. It was a tough contest, not much really in this between the two teams. Bit of a dour affair, and it ended up 0-0. Keely Adamson still yet to break through. I did see Pearman score another couple of goals in the under-21 zone for QPR, so he's still in really good form. So yeah, he looks like he'll have a good preseason over there, and obviously joined late last year. And I think he's really set the light over there. So I think we'll see a little bit more game time for QPR in the first team for Pearman, especially in the preseason. We also seen some returns and some good ones at that. Middlesbrough hosted Portsmouth. So first of all, with Borough, Sammy Silvera's back. He's returned on the bench. And on the other side, Portsmouth, it's great to see Thomas Waddingham, who's back. He's been out and had a shocking year with injury. And it's great to see them both back on the bench for both Borough and Portsmouth. It was a crucial game, especially for Borough at the top end, and it was a crucial game for Pompey. Little did they know at the time, if they didn't win this game, they would have been in the relegation zone. But they scored a late goal in the 97th minute, Pompey, and they stunned Riley McGree, who he started this game as he normally does for Borough, and he got 84 minutes. And he was the only Aussie, obviously, that got game time with that one. And it was so vital, as I said, because now Portsmouth still 1 point above relegation because Oxford won last night. So, yeah, lucky that Pompey win for those Aussies, because they would have been in relegation zone if they had not picked up the full maximum points.
Did you see you've played a big hand in the goal for Pompey as well? Our old friend Adrian Segacic with the strike from distance that got deflected in. So he's still playing a part.
Oh, of
Is
course
that
he's a quality player.
detraction from Middlesbrough, or is that a push to just keep Pompey in the championship?
It's sad not to report on him anymore, isn't it? Because, we really enjoyed Superman Segacic, and look, no, it's good to see him still. He was on the bench, obviously in this one, he come on late as well, get some game time and still evolve. So, yeah, look, it's a small part of me that still hopes he does very well in his career, and we'll still follow him to a point. But obviously, yeah, he's a live wire, isn't he? He's got plenty of talent. So, yeah, hopefully he keeps Pompey up, and for those other Aussies that we have in the Pompey team. Also, to injury return for Harry Souttar, probably the biggest news of the week. We've been reporting that he's been in the reserves or the under 23s with the second team, and he's finally back on the bench for Leicester City. He plays against, to his possible partner in the Socceroos World Cup squad, potentially, ever-reliant Cam Burgess, in a game that was pivotal for the Foxes. But Swansea, they provided a massive blow to the Foxes, and they beat them 1-0. Harry Souttar didn't see no game time, as Burgess dominated again with 12 defensive contributions, a clean sheet, 3 points. And it could be curtains for the Foxes, Chief. They are now 4 points behind safety with 4 to play. A double relegation looking for the Foxes. So be very interesting to see what happens to Harry Souttar, not just for the Socceroos, but for some of those Leicester players, double relegation after a points deduction during the year. So what do you think of that one?
Yeah, unbelievable. We mentioned this on our midweek pod, the fact that it's 10 years since they lifted the Premier League trophy, and they've kind of been up and down and kind of thereabouts, but yeah, gee, it's a big drop to go down to League One. We've seen it with a few clubs. Sunderland, most famously through their documentary, did the drop from Premier League down to League One. But yeah, big historic club in Leicester, and be a real shame for their supporters to go down. But we know in this game that no one is ever too big to be dropping down leagues. You have to keep moving forward. You have to keep all your momentum. Obviously, they're dealing with the points deductions through some penalties that they face, which has obviously put them in this place. But to be honest, that's 6 points only, and it's a poor season in any way you look at it. So yeah, they definitely need to fight and scrap, and it will be interesting for the perspective of Harry Souttar. What happens? He hasn't particularly been looked after in his whole time since he's been at Leicester. He signed in the January transfer window when they were fighting relegation, and he only got a couple of opportunities really in that season. And then he kind of just been frozen out or loaned out basically after that point. His best time was when he was at Sheffield United and he was playing consistently well until he got injured. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what Leicester's thinking. I'm not sure what Harry Souttar's thinking, but I don't think he owes them anything if that's kind of where the question's going, because, yeah, as I said, he hasn't been looked after. So, yeah, he'd have every right to say, well, if you're going to go down to League One, I'm going to look elsewhere.
Yep, very true. And obviously they're down there because West Brom and Blackburn, they've been undefeated in 5 and picking up wins and draws. And Pompey, as we said, picked up a crucial win, and so did this team. And they beat one of our Aussie Watford's Nestor Irukunda, and Watford away to Oxford. And Irukunda started again in this one, but they were shut down 2-0. Nestor played a full game, picking up a yellow card, and a frustrating loss for Watford. But Oxford needed that one because They are in relegation. They are 1 point behind Portsmouth, so they're battling it out, and they've dropped Leicester City. So yeah, like I said, I think Leicester withdrew with Sheffield Wednesday during the week, and it definitely looks curtains. So not a good win, not a good week there for Watford. They've dropped. They were just out of the playoffs, but last couple of defeats have dropped them back down, right back down to 12th after them being in the top 10 consistently in the last month. So not a good finish for Watford, but still a good season for Irukunda. And lucky last, we had Derby away in the last throw at the stumps against red hot Southampton, but the Saints just proved too strong in this one. 2-1. Still no return for Elder, but we thought we would report on that one. And also Blackburn, who got a draw too. So those teams looking safe anyway. So we're about to wrap for the Aussies in the Championship, mate. Why don't you bring some exciting news to League One, because our man's at it again.
Yeah, he sure is. What about the Saints just quickly in the Championship? Geez, they've just come from nowhere, mate. So fifth, that's crazy.
FA Cup
They're going to be red
now.
hot in the playoffs, aren't they? Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right.
They demolished Wrexham,
All right,
didn't they? That was the biggest statement.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, mate, let's do League One. Alex Robertson starts for Cardiff and turned provider with an assist and playing some key passes as they go 2-0 up against Bolton. He played a total of 77 minutes in another good performance, and his team finished the victors. So not too far away from clinching that automatic playoff spot to go up into the Championship. Big game also for Plymouth, needing a win to press for the playoffs, but they fell 1-0 to lower half Exeter. Caleb Watts came off the bench in the 57th minute. His team equalised and chased the winner, but were punished, going 2-1 down, then pulled one back to 2-2, and that's how it finishes. Yeah, so Plymouth were on a really good run, but they did need to keep it up to sneak into those playoffs. Very tight in the bottom half of those playoff spots and a few more places down. So they'll be hoping to pick up some big wins for the rest of the season to sneak into the playoffs. 82 minutes and an assist for Rafael Borges Rodriguez in Wigan's 2-1 win over Mansfield Town. The win moves them 5 points clear of relegation and up to 15th. Geez, it is so tight there from those relegation spots all the way up. I think they're only still about 5 points. Yeah, they're 5 points clear of relegation, but all the way up to 15th. So, yeah, very, very tight in League One. And let's hope that Cardiff can wrap up this automatic promotion. Plymouth can sneak into the playoffs, and then Wigan have enough to survive in League One. That would be absolutely fantastic. All happening in Scotland, mate. Why don't you run us through that?
Well, it was all 12 o'clock kickoffs last night, and Hibs were away to Aberdeen with Boyle and Pseudo on the bench for this one, and Jack Iredale obviously starting in defence for Hibs. They chased Europe. They're looking for top four, as Scotland have got 4 spots. But we've got to speak about Aberdeen too. Nicholas Milanovic, he was on the bench. But I'll tell you what, it was a bad night for Hibs. They went down to 10 men early and conceded a penalty. They were 1-0 down. Jack Iredale got pulled after that sending off in the 18th minute to try to shape it up a bit, but they end up conceding another, and they lost 2-0 in a really poor performance for Hibs, who had a great opportunity after Motherwell's defeat, and they didn't take advantage of it whatsoever. So they're off now into obviously the top the breakaway top 6 group, and obviously they'll play against some big teams and see where they end up against Motherwell, because they'll fight it out probably for the last European spot. We talk about Hearts. Well, this is the story of the night. Hearts in mouths, isn't it? For if you're a fan for Hearts, like the last few weeks, they host Motherwell with Cam Devlin staying in the heart of midfield, and Oscar Priestman for Motherwell was on the bench, and they had to come down from a goal down Hearts as Motherwell snuck the first goal home, but they get back into the game. They win 3-1 and they hold on to the lead going into the final 5 games. So it was a great win by Hearts as the clubs now separate. And we also seen Oscar Priestman for Motherwell. He got on late in this game, but the game was gone and they remained 4th after Hibs' failure. So Hearts, they've got to wait for Rangers tonight. They'll still be either 1 point or 3 or possibly 4 in front of Rangers and Celtic after the early kickoff, which is in just over an hour's time. Everyone will be watching that as Rangers go to Falkirk. So very interesting times there. We've got some other Aussies, though. Dundee United, They hosted Livingston, and Zach Sabsford starts with Ryan Strain, which is really good. Ryan Strain had a good game on the right-hand side here. Unfortunately, Ashton Maynard Brewer was ruled out with injury during the week, and obviously not sure how bad that injury is. And on the other side for Livingston, we had Ryan McGowan on the bench. And I tell you what, though, Chief, this game had hearts in mouths as well as it took till right to the end, and it was a late winner from our own Zach Sabsford, who scored again. He nailed a penalty to get Dundee home 3-2 in this one after it was 2-all. But obviously a penalty at Dundee United, and Sapsford steps up, puts it to the left, sends the keeper the wrong way, and they get the 3 points. It's great to see Sapsford play a full game, and Ryan Strain as well. He played really well. So on that right hand side, very busy, which was good to see. And unfortunately, Ryan McGowan seems to have fallen out at Livingston. He hasn't had much game time in the last month after starting nearly every week pretty much for the whole season. All right, mate, that's a wrap in Scotland. All to play for there as they break off with a couple of games to go tonight. Let's go around Europe.
Okay, mate, let's start in Germany. Bayern Munich show no mercy, beating St. Pauli 5-0. Jackson Irvine obviously suspended after he got those 2 yellow cards and obviously a red last time out. Connor Metcalf got 24 minutes off the bench, but they were lucky as both relegation teams lost and they hold down the relegation playoff spot by 4 points. So just hanging in there at the moment. St. Pauli, they would love to jump up a little bit higher and get themselves out of trouble completely, but as long as they're not in the automatic relegation spots for the moment. In Austria, we saw a full game for Jacob Italiano as Grazer AK missed the chance to go top of the relegation group. Of course, you remember that that is a Europa Conference League spot if they can top that group, but they lost 1-0 to Altac. With a win, they would have actually gone top. So, yeah, it's a real shame for Jacob Italiano's Grazer AK. In the Netherlands, Josh Nisbet plays 90 minutes in Roda JC's 3-1 win over FC Eindhoven and move up into 7th in the playoff race to be promoted up to the Eredivisie. So let's hope that Niz can continue to push into those playoff spots and make a real dent in that one. And then over in Poland, Denny Juric plays 72 minutes as his side win 1-0 to remain 5th in the Polish league. But it's a very tight race there in Poland. Plenty of teams with just within a couple of points right up at the top. So let's hope that for Juric's sake that his side can go on and push right up to the top of the table. But plenty of action for our players tonight. A lot are in action on Sunday night into Monday morning. So we'll report on those ones after those games of happening. But plenty of action across in the MLS as well, Mopper.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted to remind the viewers too, Heracles did go down 3-0 to Ajax early this morning as well. Obviously, that's pretty much curtains for Heracles now. They've been fighting at the bottom of the table for a long time. Yes, the MLS chief, we've got a lot of representation in America, and it was Alex Bonateg's Portland beat high-flying LAFC 2-1, and that's their second win of the season. So former Western Sydney Wanderers playing a full 90 minutes and settling in well over there for Portland. It's a fantastic to see him get straight in that lineup this year. Patrick Yazbek for Nashville. He had assists and scores by a wicked deflection as his Nashville defeats Charlotte 2-1 in an all-Aussie clash. Archie Goodwin won and converted a stoppage time penalty after Charlotte's Telcamato had earlier missed his penalty, which obviously has cost them points in this game. Great to see Archie Goodwin. He's a clinical finisher. Aidan O'Neill and Kai Truan were unable to see off Thomas Muller's Vancouver. Vancouver, very hot side. They go down 2-0. Truan played 90 minutes and O'Neill coming off late in that one. And our young star, Lucas Harrington from Colorado, had a big 6-2 win over Houston, with Harrington completing the most passes again at 99%. He is continuing just to rise. No, another great win off Colorado. Kyle Rolls, DC United, they lose 1-0 to New England Revolution, with the Socceroo playing 90 minutes. And that's a wrap for America. Great to see all the Aussies playing nearly full games and, really getting a lot of game time over there in the MLS.
How consistently is Lucas Harrington just picking up these close to 100% passing accuracy, but also the most passes? Like, we know he's a good passer, but, like, to be consistently churning out these numbers is just incredible.
Just another day at the office, isn't it?
Like shelling peas,
No,
as they say, mate, just
yeah,
whatever.
well, when you're that good, keep it up.
Yeah. All right, Mupper, let's turn our attention now to the A-League men's competition. As I mentioned in the intro, it's really coming down to the pointy end of the season. This was the third last game for most teams. So obviously after these ones, two more games to go, and we've got some decisions out of it, and there's still some question marks heading into the last couple of rounds. So let's start with Friday night. The Central Coast Mariners hosted Brisbane Roar. It was a quick start for Brisbane Roar, with Sam Klein scoring a fantastic header to open the scoring after just 4 minutes. Brisbane had plenty of chances to double their advantage, but couldn't do anything in the remainder of the first half. And they were made to pay early in the second half as Jesse Mantell, on his home debut, you know what they call him, Mopper? They call Jesse Mantell Mini Niz, because he's exactly the same height as Josh Nisbet, gets around the pitch just like him. So he's so busy, and he scored an absolutely cracking goal. It was originally called for offside. We broke through, drove it past Dean Bazanis, called for offside, had to wait for the VAR to draw the lines, and then it finally got the decision it was a goal. Ran into the crowd where all his schoolmates were. He's only 18 years old, so what a fantastic moment for this kid. He's a Central Coast Mariners Academy product, come all the way through the system. How fantastic is that?
It's my favourite part of football when these moments happen, and it just the absolute joy on his face when he finally realised the VAR got it right, and to see him amongst the people he grew up with and he supports him in his own hometown. There is nothing better. And Central Coast Mariners do this well. Another product coming through. But what a great finish and a great run in behind. It's just superb. And yeah, hopefully we see a lot more of him. And I'm sure we will in the Central Coast production line. But yeah, look, you can't beat these moments. You could have just held that camera on there for 5 minutes and just let him party, couldn't you? It was that good.
That was so good, mate. And in a typical Josh Nisbet replica performance, what about him being the most fouled player in the game and also winning the most duels in the game? So it doesn't let his height or his size put him off at all, just puts himself about. So fantastic. And he was played through by a fellow 18-year-old, although he's got a couple more games under his belt in Hayne Eames. What a player that he is and is going to be as well. But so that was 1-1, and then the Mariners kicked on because only 7 minutes later, Nathaniel Blair scored a fantastic goal. They were 2-1 up, mate, and we knew that this was a crucial game for them. They definitely needed to win this to have any chance of staying in the hunt for the playoffs. But in the last gasp of the game, Jordan Lawton, he has done this before, pops up with the equaliser in the 93rd minute to break Mariners' hearts. Andrew Redmayne in his 300th A-League game. Geez, Jordan Lawton, not a romantic, is he? Couldn't let Redders have his moment, could he? He had to put a dampener on it.
Oh, look, Redmayne's had a lot of great football memories, hasn't he? And unfortunately, he'd be very disappointed about that one. But to be honest, Brisbane really deserved much more out of this game. And, they deserve at least a point. Again, I watched them against Sydney last week and again, the highlights of this one. And they just dominated again, more shots, more on target. They just stranglehold the midfield like they always do and control it. And oh, geez, they've missed D'Agostino, haven't they? Someone on the end of some of this. I know Thorne's only young and he's got some plenty of time to grow, but yeah, look, they need to be a little bit more ruthless, don't they? And it's cost them because they've had so many draws where they could have won. But then Central Coast at home, again, resilience, down 1-0, bounce back 2-1. But it just wasn't meant to be, was it, for the Mariners? And we've probably seen this in the last 4 to 5 weeks where they've just lost that little bit of cutting edge to finish teams off. and they've come up short. But I still think I know they're going to be disappointed, but what a fantastic year for the Mariners with all that they've faced, and onward and upward for them. I think, yeah, you can pretty much, not mathematically out of it, but we pretty much know that they're going to be out of the finals race now, and Brisbane have just shot themselves in the foot once again, and but they've come a long way too this year as well. I can't forget last year they had an absolute shocker, and they've bounced back as well. So both pass marks for me. 2-2 was a fair result, but Brisbane again probably should have taken more of their first half opportunities.
Yeah, I think for Brisbane, D'Agostino is definitely a big miss, but I think you even go back to the start of the season, lots of 1-0 wins or 1-1 draws, 0-0s. They missed Lucas Harrington massively in that defence, and even Dean Bazanis, he was in better form at the start of the season. Jay O'Shea missed a part of the season. The midfielder foreigner, I've misplaced his name for the moment. It'll come back to me. But yeah, that was the grit and the determination that they had there in that midfield. They didn't concede a lot of goals. Stoich, sorry, is the name. Sorry, it's come to me. Yeah, they just miss that grit in the middle, don't they? And even like likes of Ruse and Vidic, they were scoring goals, and they just haven't been able to consistently do it throughout the season. I don't know if that's a bit of a game plan thing, or whether it's just that they can't consistently have these players get up week after week in that kind of style. But yeah, some big misses in personnel for sure. And I think, look, as you said, I know Brisbane Roar fans were really disappointed of how the season has panned out, but I think there's probably a little bit there to work with as opposed to the end of last season where it was just a complete changeover. So I think, yeah, probably they're in a better place
Definitely
this off season despite missing the finals again than they were last off season.
Yeah, well said. Good points. And yeah, I think both teams are in good space, with lots to look forward to. They're at least moving forward, so that's a good sign. All right, mate. Saturday, wow, we had some crackers here. Auckland, Melbourne, wow. Talk us through that one.
Yeah, it was a massive game for both clubs. Obviously, Auckland chasing down the Jets in the race for the Premier's plate, and Melbourne Victory looking to sew up those finals positions with obviously the news during the week of Juan Mata being out with his surgery. But it looks like that he might be back earlier than was first expected, which is a positive sign for Melbourne Victory. So let's run through the game. It was a cracking goal to start through Franco Lino. It was teed up by Dennis Genro. Yeah, just broke for him out there on the right, and he just ran onto it beautifully and cracked it into the far post. Fantastic strike. Big Sammy Cosgrove got one back for Auckland FC just before the halftime break. And then it was Nishan Valupale who put Melbourne Victory back in front, and it's the type of goal mopper that we saw a little bit when he was performing well for the Socceroos. So I'm sure that Tony Popovich had a big smile on his face when he saw Nish break through here and squeeze the ball past James Hilton in the goal for Auckland FC. So good to see Nish going to be in form. Like, I expect him to be in the squad based on how he's been selected for the Socceroos in the past. So we definitely want him to be in form. And it looked like the Melbourne Victory were going to cause a big upset over in Auckland FC until your man, Lockie Brooke, popped up with a fantastic free kick. Potentially, James Wachowski should have done a little bit better. He kind of pushed it into the top corner. I think he maybe could have got a bit of a stronger hand on that, but let's not take anything away from Lockie Brooke. Another fantastic strike that we've seen from him, not for the first time this season. And then what about Stevie Corica? Got the fire out towards the end of the game, got his marching orders to back up the tunnel. So definitely a fiery one, and this one ended in a 2-2 draw.
Yeah, come on, Corica. It's not the big blue. He's playing for coaching Auckland now. I suppose they're blue as well, I guess. So maybe he's got some good old memories. Yeah, look, again, another game that probably deserved a draw. Yeah, like both teams really played some really good football. Yeah, great point against Valupale. He obviously started the season off injured, and he come back firing, didn't he? But then he went missing for 4 or 5 weeks, didn't he? He really struggled to get his mojo and that formation where the Victory had a little bit of a bad patch. But he got his confidence back a few weeks ago, and I think picking him in that Socceroos squad just made him realise that this is where I want to belong, and brings back some of that form from 12 months ago. He's definitely very creative. He had some great games, didn't he, for Popper? And Popper has an admiration for him. We know that. And you're probably right. He will be in the squad somewhere. But yeah, he's starting that little bit of confidence, I think, has kicked him on again. And I think he's in for a big finish for the year. And Auckland again, look, control and possession. Cosgrove tops goal scorer, and Lockie Brook getting on that free kick. They're dangerous, aren't they, Auckland? You can just can't. It's hard to put them away, and probably a deserved point for both. Where that sits them now, Auckland remains second, 3 points off. Do have a better goal difference though than Newcastle, so that'd be interesting for the run home and a couple to go. So still fighting it out for 1 or 2 spots there, and then obviously Melbourne Victory probably consolidate now that the other teams around them have dropped off. So that good point keeps them well within firm, obviously, if that top 6. So no harm lost there, and they'll come back home now. And another a good point for both teams.
Still a lot to play for, though, for Melbourne Victory in terms of that home final in the first week of the final series, though, because you'd say that they're locked in just about pending the result of the MacArthur Perth game this evening, but they're just about locked in for the finals. But they'll be definitely trying. They're only 1 point behind both Adelaide United and Sydney FC, and they've got a better goal difference than both of them. So they'll definitely be eyeing off trying to get into one of those third or fourth spots to get that home final, but they're definitely dealing with some injuries as well, and I think their challenge is, as you've said a couple of times this season, is that balance and finding out. They've definitely got a lot of weapons. It's about getting the balance on the field right, and I think Valadon and Genre sitting in the base of that midfield is the right combination, and it just allows those players in front of
Definitely.
them to be a bit more free, isn't it?
Yeah, and how about this one, Chief? If you look at their potential finals opponents, it's their 3 fiercest rivals.
Yeah, true.
It could be
True.
the Big Blue, it could be the Derby, or it could be Adelaide. Like they've picked all 3. They could pick all 3 of them, and it's going to be an absolute cracker, isn't it? So, yeah, they're headed for a massive finals campaign against one of their fiercest rivals. So, it'd be very exciting that they're rising to the top, aren't they? It's good to see.
Yeah, it's a
All right, mate.
great point.
Newcastle. Yeah, Newcastle and Adelaide. Talk us through this one. Newcastle and Adelaide fighting it out with a Jets late equaliser.
Yeah, we've spoken about the Jets a bit in recent weeks, and kind of stuttering to the finish line, not being so convincing, and they're probably a bit the same in this one. They dominate possession, and you think that they're going to create a lot of chances, but they're not creating just as many chances as Adelaide, and we know how ruthless Adelaide can be on their day as well. Yeah, plenty of chances for both sides early, particularly Newcastle kind of peppered their goal. And a few interesting storylines out of this one as well, with a couple of the ex-Adelaide players on the books of the Jets as well. Obviously, Delianov in goals for the Jets, and Zach Clough played in this one as well for Newcastle Jets. It was his first start, I believe, for the Jets. He went off early for Will Dobson, but yeah, some very interesting kind of crossovers here. But Ryan White opened the scoring pretty late in this game, in the 73rd minute. And then it looked like Adelaide was going towards a big win, and would have put the Jets right back close to Auckland FC. But Daniel Wilmering has popped up with a late equaliser. I'm just lurking in at the far post. He's become a bit of a goal poacher, probably not so much during the season, but he definitely scored plenty of goals in the preseason. So he knows how to sniff out a goal at the left back. Yeah, but Ethan Alagich, again, really good in this one. Ryan White, really good in this one for Adelaide United. Adelaide are going to be, I think Adelaide are going to be a very, very tough prospect for any team that they come into in the finals. I don't think if they finish third or fourth, I don't think those fifth to sixth teams are going to want to match up against them in that first week of finals.
Yeah, they've been in hot form too, and yeah, credit to both teams in this one. 28 shots and 20 were on target, so the efficiency was unbelievable. Surprise was only 1-1, but yeah, look again, another game splitter. This one, both teams deserved something out of this game. So you know, you know, Newcastle may be showing a bit of possession, but Adelaide just as effective with the ball. And yeah, again, we knew this was a clash of great styles of football, really good to watch. And yeah, look, 1-1. And where that puts them on the table, we know Newcastle hold on their 3-point lead, and then Adelaide perched in there at fourth, equal with on points with Sydney. So, yeah, it looks like they're going to finish around about where they are now and have the probably advantage at the moment of a home final at this stage. So we'll see what happens.
What about Ryan White? Just read you this stat line, mate. Most dribbles in the match. He also had the most tackles. He was the most fouled player in the match, and I love this one the best. He won the most duels and he lost the most duels. So that doesn't say he doesn't put himself about the pitch, the 20-year-old. So tell you what, he could be a bit of a prospect on the Adelaide production line to be looking at an overseas opportunities. Definitely shown a lot of consistency this season alongside Ethan Alagich in that midfield, and a fantastic combination, the two of them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just that such great talents. It's watching these two together. These are the games you want to watch, isn't it? It's just great football. All right, let's save the big banger for last. The derby, the Sydney derby, Western Sydney at home to Sydney FC. A lot of spoken about the crowd, just under 17,000, but I still think that's good considering where Western Sydney's at and what season that they've had. I know a few people disappointed, but I thought the atmosphere sounded fantastic for the 17,000 that were there. And I thought Sydney FC in the first half were in complete control of this game. They were opening up, putting Western Sydney under so much pressure. Western Sydney struggled to, pass through the lines and get out through the back. The press was really high from Sydney. And it was a goal early for Toure in the 20th minute. It was well deserved. They had all the ball, all the chances. But I thought Western Sydney's response was fantastic. I thought they really built into the game and, probably helped by the subs that they brought on, Fraser and, Barbarousis and all that. So, you could speak about whether they should have started or not, but they really brought on some big guns in the second half. They really put Sydney FC under a lot of pressure, creating a lot of good chances for themselves in the second half. But Sydney countered, and it was a good goal by Stan Tabanopoulos in the 83rd minute, who, Western Sydney just had a free kick, 30 seconds prior, and then it went bang straight down there for some nice football set up by Quintal. He's electric, isn't he, when he comes on? And really, those little game breakers, a little bit of composure, and a nice finish from Stam the man. So he got pulled off straight after that 2-0, and the game was shut down after that. Western Sydney were a bit unlucky, though. They had the ball in the back of the net, but, Krayev, unfortunately, it hit his hand and come back down, and he headed it down after some beautiful build-up play that everyone thought that was 1-1, and I thought momentum could have probably changed in that moment. But rightfully so, VAR overturned the goal, and they weren't good enough to put the ball in the back of net, Western Sydney, which we've said like a broken record all year, and that's the way it's panned out. And Sydney take the bragging rights and take a lot of pressure off themselves with Kasnorbo's first win. And once again, because of the tightness of the table, jump up the third on goal difference on 37. But again, they could finish as high as probably third and probably low as probably sixth. So I think there's still plenty more to play out with their draw, although they've got Perth and then Auckland at home in the last round. So still plenty to play for.
Yeah, just on the crowd, probably, as you said, a lot of people disappointed, and it's an easy headline for people to point at the crowd and say, what's happened to the Sydney Derby, etc., etc. But I think that just reflects the timing of this game in the context of the Western Sydney Wanderers season, and the fact that it is at Combank Stadium out there in Western Sydney. Because if that game's at Allianz at Moore Park, I think that's at least an extra 10,000 just with the incorporation of Sydney FC memberships and just the Sydney FC fan base and wanting to get out there and support the team. So, I think it's a big stretch to say, the Sydney Derby's dead or what's happened to it, etc., etc. I just think that, the third last game of the season where the Wanderers are sitting dead last on the table, how they've tried to drum up the excitement about, building this into a decider and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, all I can say for the Western Sydney Wanderers fans for this season is it's almost over, and you've got a big off season ahead of you. And I hope that for your sake, all the people making all the big decisions get a lot of them right in the off season. You've obviously got your head coach there and Ufuk Talay sorted out already, and I know that already that's put a lot of people off in terms of what they think of that appointment, but look, again, you just need to start getting wins. You need to start scoring goals. And, naturally, I think the fans will start to return from that point. But yeah, Sydney FC, look, they weren't great against Brisbane Roar last weekend, but yeah, they've obviously turned it on against Western Sydney Wanderers. That goal from Stamatolopoulos was amazing. The ball in from Quintal and then the nice little dink finish from Stamatolopoulos, really, really good. Al Hassan Toure, very nice strike from him as well. But look, the Wanderers had their chances as well. Pandazopoulos in the thick of things, as he normally is. Devin Mears made, I think, 8 saves on the night as well. So, he was kept busy by the Wanderers. But look, same old story for them, isn't it? They just can't put the ball in the back of the net. We identified it in our preseason. We've touched on it so many times throughout the year, and it just has been their problem all season. They've been okay, at least in parts of games, but it's just that final third, but they just can't get it right, and didn't have it right when Sturridge was there. Besides that 4-0 win against MacArthur, they haven't really turned it on beside that in any other game. So yeah, look, as I said, it's almost over. Western Sydney Wanderers fans, you can follow another team or follow another code for a little bit of time in the off season before you kind of switch your attention back to your A-League men's and A-League women's teams for the 26-27 season. But yeah, Sydney FC, look, if they can carry a bit of this form coming into finals, they'll be a dangerous prospect on their day as well.
Yep, and look, Western Sydney made a very important appointment during the week too with the director of football, Mal Impimbardo, that which is 20 years experience. He's really achieved a lot in the football game. So a very smart appointment, I think, for Western Sydney, realising that things need to change on all levels. And I see they've got a fan forum coming up as well. So, yep, bit to do there for Wanderers, but I think they already understand what they need to do. So good appointment there for Mal. He'll bring a lot to the club. All right, mate, so let's go. Well, hang on, sorry, we've got some news coming through. Perth has scored, Chief, 1-0. Pellington, they're up against MacArthur. Massive blow for MacArthur. We'll have to stay close to this. That's early in the second half. Sorry, mate. I was just going to cut over to Melbourne
pretty scrappy
City.
Goal, that one. It just fell to him in the box and he's just slammed it home. So that nice little moment with someone on the sideline. So be interested to find out what that was all about as well. But yeah, certainly not the result that MacArthur need to get into the finals. And a big reason for that is because earlier today, Melbourne City has beaten Wellington Phoenix 2-0. Obviously, the Phoenix were on a decent run of form, and Melbourne City have been able to put them away in this one. Aziz Bayic scored the first goal, bit of a deflected shot, but look, they all count. Got that one in the back of the net, and then the man in tremendous form, Marcus Eunice, doubles Melbourne City's lead to give them the 2-0 win over Wellington Phoenix. They're on a decent run of form, Melbourne City. They've picked up, let me do my maths mopper, 13 of a possible 15 points in their last 5 games. So they're definitely hitting some good form coming into the finals. And then they've got Brisbane Roar next week, which you would hope and expect that they would win that one. And then a big clash against Adelaide United to finish off the season, which could be very telling in terms of finals places and where everyone ends up.
Well, depends on MacArthur's result. We could see the top 6 pretty much stretch away now with only a couple to go. So look, if MacArthur can't get back, it looks curtains, doesn't it, for the bottom 6. So anyway, we'll have to keep following that game. And Melbourne City is certainly bounced into form, like you said, at the right time. And their star players are stepping up. And they seem to be gelling a bit better now. Maybe they just needed that time, and it's all coming together. Again, it's. I think this is shaping up to be one of the very formidable final series. There's some big games and some big teams in here in the top six. It's going to be extremely exciting, and there's not much between the teams. They've all had their journey, haven't they? Up and down and in between and form-wise. Not too many have been consistent. So, yeah, it's going to be an absolute cracker. It's a really good marketing tool, I think, for the A-League finals this year. I think, yeah, some big crackers coming up.
Yeah, I think you're right in terms of like, yeah, as I said, if this result stays the same and MacArthur do lose this one, you just about put all these six in the finals, and yeah, you got your two big Melbourne teams. You got Sydney FC, who's your traditional team, Adelaide United, very consistent, and then Auckland, the obviously the new team in the competition, but a big powerhouse. And then the Jets, a bit of a surprise packet, but they've been the entertainers all season. So yeah, you've got a really, really good mix of teams in there. So that's not to disrespect the other teams that aren't going to be in the finals, but some very big, strong clubs, and it's shaping up to be a big final series, I think.
Yep. All right. Exciting news. All right, mate. Let's go on to the Emerging Matildas Championships. And the group stage finished today. Quarterfinals start tomorrow. You want to shout out one of the under 16 girls, Sophie Ungle, who's Western Sydney Wanderers, I believe, from Northwest Spirit. 7 goals from 4 games for New South Wales Sky.
Yeah, how good's that? I was just looking up a couple of stats. Their team scored 23 goals in their 4 games so far, and yeah, Sophie Ongle scoring plenty of them. So yeah, that merging Matildas Championships is continuing into the middle of the week, as you said. Group stages finishing up today, so all the quarterfinals will be sorted and starting tomorrow with the final, I believe, on Wednesday this week. So plenty to look forward to, and some very interested onlookers at these emerging championships as well. And then the Emerging Socceroos Championships starts later this week as well. So all very exciting for these younger players involved.
Yep, absolutely. And well, mate, the Matildas under 20s look like they're still fighting, but they're still looks like they're 1-0 down. So let's move on to team of the week while we see the final minutes in the under 20s game at the moment.
All right, mate. Let's go through them. Harrison Devonish Mears for his performance in the Sydney Derby. As I said, I think he made about 8 saves in some very, very good form. I wonder where he is in the Socceroos pecking order. He's a mature keeper. He got his opportunity late on, but certainly has been performing for Sydney FC this season. Franco Lino for his performance for Melbourne Victory in that absolutely cracking goal against Auckland FC. The ever reliable Cam Burgess alongside the passing machine Lucas Harrington. I'm going to chuck Ryan Strain in at right fullback for his performance for Dundee United. What about this combative midfield? Jesse Mantell, the 18-year-old, Patrick Yazbek and Ryan White. And then up front, we're going with Nishan Volupale, Archie Goodwin, and the debutante goal scorer Letitia McKenna for the Matildas. Mopper, who is your super sub, mate?
Can't go past from the women's side. Charlie Rule had a great win in the FA Cup, and then back in the starting lineup for the Matildas. I think she's an absolute fantastic star. And for the men's side, I can't go past Robbo, Chief. He's just this month and the previous month, he's just been on fire, scoring goals, assists, just looking great. Yeah, and even I have to sneak in Borgs Rodriguez because he had a great assist as well. But yeah, no, I can't go past Robbo. He's just been fantastic. His form consistently deserves Mopper's team of the week, 12th and 13th. So Charlie Rule and obviously my man Robbo, who's had a great 9 months, hasn't he? Since he's come back from injury, got his allegiance right, and yeah, be very interesting X factor or big question whether he makes this Socceroos squad.
How would you go with picking a Socceroos World Cup squad? Would you just keep adding on players and then adding on one more and adding on one more?
Now I'm clear in my mind my Socceroos side, but yeah, I'm still not convinced that'll be the 26 selected because I've still got a couple of question marks. But yeah, I'd love to be a fly on the wall to find out what's going on in the discussion room. But I'm pretty confident of 20 to 23. It's just those three to four in the mix that I'm unsure about due to the large web that we cast this year of over 60 plus players.
I've seen plenty of predicted squads, not including Cam Devlin, which just makes me think that centre midfield battle for those handful of spots is just going to be so crucial. And the way that it works, Popovich is going to get it wrong in someone's eyes for sure. Like he's not going to get it right for everyone. So yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see. You can lock a few of them in, but yeah, who's the supporting cast around that group?
Yeah, look, that midfield spots, the way we're set up with the 10s and the 6s, we've got quite a lot of depth, haven't we? And lot of good players in that space. But geez, Cam Devlin, wow, we just haven't seen enough of him in the Socceroos. He just didn't get an opportunity. But I tell you what, he's had a cracking He might even be, like as I said, Player of the Year for Scotland, but that injury might have cruelled that. But yeah, wow, what a component and combatant he's been for Hearts this year. I'm absolutely dumbfounded. But the reason why I'm dumbfounded with Devlin is because he suits Popovich's style in every way and every facet. And I'm just shocked that he hasn't been used more. But it's not to say he might not be in there. Max Ballard struggling for Nakbreda to get in the side at the moment. They're just about to kick off. And, he's had a great breakthrough against New Zealand and really got into those sides earlier on. But later in the year, we didn't see him. And then now he's starting to not start. So it swings around, doesn't it? And it's very hard to tell. But, we've definitely got a little bit of luxury of all similar type of style players there. But, yeah, I can't get my head around Cam Devlin. I thought Popovich's style 101, but, yeah, you just haven't seen enough of him.
As you said, Nakbreda have just kicked off against Fortuna Sittard, so that's a huge game at the bottom of the Eredivisie. What about the top of the Eredivisie? Final, obviously Jordy Boss taking on Nek Nijmen. That's second versus third, fighting it out for that automatic UEFA Champions League spot. So that'll be fascinating as well. Alexander Jakarta's Palmer's in action as well. Sparta Prague with Garan Qual. It's all happening overnight, mate. Yeah,
Levante on Tuesday got a big game.
Yeah, plenty to look forward to. Maybe we should say a quick prayer for our Spurs fans out there to see how they get on against Sunderland. We're currently in the relegation zone.
How would you? Thank God I don't follow that side. My God, what an absolute storyline that one is. I think I'm going to stay up tonight and watch it just to see the reaction. I think it's like picking Powerball numbers, isn't it? You do not know. Sunderland are so hard at home, and Tottenham are just all at sea. Is this coach everything, or is the same problems behind the scenes holding them back? I just don't know. But we're going to get the answer tonight, aren't we? Because it's game on now. It might not be in their hands, because if West Ham and Notts Forest keep winning, they might not have the opportunity, even though how well they might bounce back.
It's true, mate. And look, who knows, mate? Spurs might still survive, and Arsenal might give up the title this late. Wouldn't that be a turn of events?
I watched it last night, and I was talking to a friend just before the game, and we were talking about how it's going to play out, and you just forget Bournemouth's football. It's just so good to watch, isn't it? And just if it's the way to hurt Arsenal, because they're not. I think if they get through the European, they'll be hoping to play Atletico Madrid. They won't want to play a Barcelona style football. They love playing that tough, behind the ball, set pieces, and it's extraordinary, isn't it? Because as soon as they come up against teams that play the ball and press, they seem to struggle, don't they? Plenty of times Arsenal couldn't play out of the back last night and just nearly turned it over. Probably could have even lost by more, but yeah, it was a flat performance. But again, this is what Champions League pressure does as well. Trying to back up every 3 days at this high level, and that cup run's just give them a bit of a dent. I thought they'd bounce back and win, but clearly not. The football gods of Bournemouth. Wow, and they're beating them again. Is that like a few on a road that Bournemouth have beaten them, like 2-1 again? I seen the photo the other day that last year they beat them 2-1 as well.
Yeah, I don't know what the scoreline, but yeah, it feels about right. Quick shout out to Crystal Palace, who have taken a 3-0 lead against Fiorentina in the first leg of their Europa Conference League quarterfinal. So obviously James Holland on the coaching staff there at Crystal Palace. So let's hope that they can kick on and win that trophy over in Europe. But all right, that's enough of world football, mate. We're here to talk about the Aussie game, but that'll do us for tonight. We'll be back to wrap everything up next time. But in the meantime, enjoy your football.
Yes, and come on, Matildas, young Matildas. We've got 25 minutes to go to try to get an equaliser and hopefully beat North Korea. So, yes, fingers crossed. Let's get them home.